All right, you are in the zone with Cranky and the Swag Man. All right, so we're going to have to put a little disclaimer in here for legal purposes. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are purely those of the person speaking, um, and we are not to be held responsible for any of that, really.
No,
I mean,
views and opinions, they're just ours. Exactly that. Views
yeah,
and
yeah,
opinions
they're
of
just
our
ours.
own. And quite frankly, don't give a shit what anyone else thinks.
Yeah, to
It
be
is what it is.
perfectly fair.
Put
Although
it in a
we do
nice way.
use, we use aliases, and we're not going to be talking shit about people's actual names or companies' actual names. But we do have a good episode lined up for you guys because we've been off air for a couple of weeks.
We
Um,
have indeed.
yeah, and I think we're going to start off by mentioning our winner for the jug. That guy was pretty lucky. That was cool.
Yeah, he was super lucky because there was a lady who had actually won the prize. However, so part of the obviously competition rules, terms and conditions was you had to follow our page, obviously, but then you had to either follow Aussie Power, either their Facebook page or their Instagram page to actually go into the draw and then tag 3 people on our post.
Let me just interject there. If you haven't gone in to follow Aussie Pal, do it now. Although
Yes.
not right now. Do it when you fucking get to work, not while you're driving.
Yes, which chances are people are probably listening to this on the way to work.
I
Now,
know I will be.
unfortunately, I did get in contact with her, but unfortunately, I had to tell her, look,
Yeah.
you haven't won because you haven't followed all the rules. It turns out that she had followed a scammer's duplicate copy of Aussie Pal, apparently. Now, I was in contact, obviously, with the owner, Aussie Power, to make sure that all the people that were entered had followed.
Mm, mm.
So when she did win, I got in contact with him, asked him to double check that this lady had followed, and unfortunately, she had only followed once I had prompted
I
her, which
mean,
was
it's
after the fact.
yeah,
So
it's un-
she
it's
got
un-
disqualified, and we had to redraw.
it's unfortunate, but those are the rules, I guess.
Yeah, she understood.
Mm.
It won't be the last time we run a draw like that. But luckily, when we did do the redraw, there was a bloke who had followed and had done for some time. His name is James. Now, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his last name.
Hold on, hold on.
Um,
You did tag me in this post, so I'm gonna just double check
yes, and
see
he
what his name was.
decided, even though it was for a black hydro jug Aussie Powder 6 litre, it looks like they allowed him to change the colour, and he's gone with a green one. We
It's
have
ju-
asked him to post on the Facebook page as well to say that he had received it to show people this was a legitimate competition, which quite a few people were actually kicked out of the competition because they were just there to troll as they thought it was a scam competition. Um, and then, yeah, just the comments they were making throughout, they ended up getting removed. So,
it's James Sicona, by the way. That's
Sakona,
how you
there you go.
pronounce that name. Yeah,
Sakona with a
yeah,
G. Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
well, he's our winner.
It's a silent G. You drop the G.
uh,
It's like cologne. You don't say the G in cologne either.
that's it. I did get in contact with James. He was quite stoked. He wasn't aware that he didn't even think he was going to win it, but it turns out this isn't the first competition he's won. He's
Yeah.
also won a competition at work where he won $1,000 as well. So he's not only won that,
Jeez,
he's
it's
then obviously
fucking
won the
James's
hydro jug.
shout tonight.
Yeah, I reckon. So yeah, that's
thousand
our
bucks.
very first competition, and thank you to Aussie Power who did jump on board. We did manage to get quite a few people to tag and follow not only our page but also the page of Aussie Power. So apparently there's quite a few even referrals, even though they didn't do the competition. They went across to Aussie Pal and followed them anyway, even though they didn't join our competition, which free competition, why wouldn't you join? So in
Yeah.
the coming months, we are going to get another one of these jugs, and we're going to raffle it off. I think we'll raffle this one off because it is quite expensive to get it. It is about $200 to $240 to get the
Yeah.
6 liter, but then it's the shipping cost as well. It is quite expensive to ship it um, because of the weight, apparently. So
And then this is going to be a raffle that benefits our Facebook page, um,
yeah,
and our podcast. The money is going to go to that.
yeah.
Try and make things a bit better for our members, and try and make things a bit, make the podcast run a bit better as well.
Well, that's it. It'd be nice to be able to raffle something off every day like LMCT Plus and, give away $1 million to members a month or $1,000 a day, but we're just not
Hmm.
rich. We're not in that realm of things.
Hey, we could get there. I
Well,
mean,
we'll get there. We'll get there
we,
at
we
some
could
point. You
always put
never
up
know.
the occasional like $100 raffle or something.
Well, that's it.
Put in your $1, and we fucking will
Maybe
send
we
you
can do a like a
when you're 100
Christmas end of year Christmas raffle or something like
Yeah,
that. 100,
some
two
gift
hundred
cards
bucks
or
or
something.
something. Yeah, we'll just save all the donations that come in, put it aside, and then at the end of the year, do one big raffle for somebody to, yeah, go splurging at Kmart or Big W or Target for Christmas toys or whatever, or even Coles, Woolworths, something like
Or
that.
if you're feeling really fancy,
Do say,
make it Maya.
yeah, oh yeah, Myer. There you go. Myer's an expensive place.
Oh, Jay. What's the Woolies equivalent? Is it David Jones, the Woolies equivalent of Maya?
I would say so.
Because
I think David
Maya,
Jones and
Maya,
Meyer were pretty much in competition at one stage with each
Maya's
other.
owned by Coles,
Mm.
and yeah, I think it's David Jones is owned by Woolies or something.
Well, the Meyer we had down here in Mandurah at the Mandurah Forum is now getting closed down, and we're getting a time zone, which
One of those is a
it's
lot more
going.
exciting than the other.
Yeah, it's quite big. It's going to be very big
That's
because the
cool.
space that they had was huge, so it's going to be very massive.
Uh,
So I'm pretty excited to see what it turns into in terms of what they put in there. But it'll be the
Yeah,
equivalent of Fremantle, I would say, on size wise.
you know what's really cool is I think lately, um, arcades have pulled themselves out of the slump that they sort of fell into in the early 2000s to late
Mm.
2000s. Sorry, I should just say the 2000s, because there was a time when everyone was like, "Well, I can play video games at home. Why would I go out and spend
Yeah,
money
it's
on it?"
almost like the reversal now. Everyone's starting to get back into it, wants to do the arcade games, and
Yeah.
obviously the vinyls made a big hit back for a couple of months there, and they
Yeah, yeah.
became very, very expensive to get a hold of again. So there's a
I got
big
really lucky.
surge.
I got
Yeah.
well, my ex's dad. That's not my ex's dad. Sorry, my wife's dad left her a whole lot of vinyl records.
Oh
I
wow.
absolutely love my vinyls, and like they include like fucking Fleetwood Mac and Def Leppard and all
There's
that sort of
rare
thing.
ones out there.
Yeah,
Yeah, when I first got a hold of the 2, 3 suitcases full that I have, I
yeah.
literally, me and the wife sat down for the whole night, uh, went through them all, categorized them in terms of duplicates, and then we went online. Once we'd sorted them all out, we went online to see which ones were actually worth a fair bit of money.
Yeah, yeah.
And it turns out I've got a little bit of money there in vinyls, so I'm just holding on to them at the moment just to see if they increase in value over time, and yeah, just see where it sort of goes in that sense.
Oh, there's no way on God's green earth I'm splitting with mine.
Yeah, no,
I love them. I
I'm
love
just gonna
listening
hold
to
on
them.
to it until it's just not worth holding on to. But I think it's just one of those generations. By the time I hit 50, it's going to be worth a shitload of money. I think they'll come back, and people will be
Yeah,
like, "Hey,
maybe.
where are these vinyls?" So see what happens. Who knows?
Yeah, I think by the time you have to subscribe to each and every single song that you want to listen to on YouTube Music,
That's
um,
it. YouTube can only go so far.
you'll be like, "Yep, physical media is the way to go again, bitches."
That's it.
Here it is. See this thing? This is what we used to listen to.
Vinyl records, that's it. Uh, we'll see what happens. You never know. These
Drop a
things could be
needle on
worth
that.
money. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
it. And you can see the new vinyl record players that have come out as well. Like they've sort of made them more modern. So if you
Mm,
try to find yourself an old vinyl record player, they're very hard to get a hold of. But you can actually buy a new modern one that'll play all the records anyway. So that's pretty cool that they've
yeah.
actually brought
Yeah.
that in as well. So yeah. But anyway, getting on to our topic of the day.
Yeah,
Uh,
it seems you and I have accidentally stumbled across a topic that both of us want to talk about.
yeah, taking your machines, well, working with your machines at work and actually looking after them.
Uh-huh.
Um, and if you've ever been in a situation where you have to share that vehicle or your truck, your machine, with a night shifter or throughout the day, constantly swapping between the two trucks, you would
Yeah.
think the person that you're swapping with would take as much care of that machine as what you have, in terms of keeping it clean on the inside and the outside, as well as using it. It's like if you
Mm.
use someone's car, you don't return it back to them dirty with shit all in it, rubbish in it. You make sure you take your rubbish out, you clean it, and return it in the same
Well,
way you
good
got it.
people do that anyway.
Well, yeah, that's it. And good operators will look after their machines and they'll keep them nice and clean on the inside.
It's
Uh,
like it's like when you rent someone's trailer and you send it back to them damaged like some sort of half-brained idiot.
that's it. And I believe that happened with you.
I believe it did,
It
and that's what sparked this conversation.
That's it. Now, I have been away for the last couple of weeks. I've only just gotten back, and I was on a water car, eight wheeler, and when I received it, it was you know dirty and grubby, and so I spent some time, at least 3 to 4 days, cleaning it as I was working. And I got it to a
Mm,
point
mm.
that where the inside was, it wasn't completely dust free, but it was very minimal. There wasn't all the windows, the dash, the inside, the controls, all that was dust free.
Yep.
Uh, Now that machine eventually did break down, but however, my night shifter had it for one night before that happened.
Mm.
And it was as if he went and got two dust bombs and threw it in there, and it just, yeah, it was a complete joke. It turns out that apparently this guy can't even see. He's apparently pretty blind. And I say that because when my eight wheeler broke down, it was sent off to Newman and replaced with a six wheeler, brand new, very low kilometers. We're talking, I think it was like 30 to 60,000 kilometers, if that.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
and this thing was spick span, wasn't a bit of dust on it.
Yep.
Outside immaculate, inside immaculate, every control, the air conditioner, you couldn't even spot a speck of dust. There was even some plastic wrapping that was still on some of the items because it just hadn't been used. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, even the seats, the roof, everything was spicky span, no dust, no
Gotta love
marks.
gotta love
Uh,
that new truck smell.
I never got a chance to drive it because when I received it, it was about 5 o'clock and I knock off at five. So,
Mm.
it got parked up and obviously
Oh,
night
good.
shift came in. He had it for a space of his shift from 6 o'clock. He gave it back to me at six for whatever reason. He didn't park up early. When I received it, not only did it look like it had been through hell, the whole of the inside, as if he had, and I worked this out before I'd asked him, he had both windows down and the whole inside had looked like he'd thrown just bomb after bomb after bomb on the inside with dust.
Now, keep in mind, dear listener, Swagman works in the outback.
Yeah.
You don't
Uh,
drive around there with your windows open.
No, especially on the area that I was. So I was Area C
Yeah.
South Flank, which is the most dustiest area you can work in. Like all the windows you keep up at all times. You never put your window down. And during the night, it's even worse because there's less people on site, so they ramp up the machines,
Yeah.
and they full blast. So by morning, it's like dust clouds coming in. And when I say morning, it's still nighttime. So coming in on the bus, you can't even see your hand in front of your face, type of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
I received the truck back, and yeah, that truck had looked like it'd been on that site for about 2 to 3 years. Just the inside was completely filled with dust.
Shame.
Now, it turns out that this guy had his windows down the whole night, and his excuse was, "Oh, I couldn't see." On every vehicle, you have this little symbol that looks like a window. It's called a demister. If you push that, it demists the window,
Yeah.
and you can adjust the speed that you want that demister to work at. Now, apparently, he just couldn't see out of a brand new window, brand new truck that didn't even have bugs over it. It was as if, you know, the it had come off the glass itself, off the repair glass machine straight onto the truck. That's how clean it was. Yeah, he completely damaged that truck in a space of
And
12 hours. I found out later from the rest of the crew, apparently he says that about every machine, regardless whether it's new or old, that he can't see out of it. So he puts the windows down. And when he's in the Bobcat, oh, I can't see out the Bobcat windows. Brand new Bobcat. Can't see out the loader windows. Can't see out of any window that apparently he works with. So,
has this
uh,
guy ever heard of this new technology we have called fucking glasses?
yeah, he wears them. Um, I just don't think he's been tested in a very long time in terms of medical grounds, in terms of his vision.
And also in
Um,
terms of IQ, apparently, if he can't figure out what a fucking demister does.
well, yeah, there's that. And my concern, more or less, and I didn't raise it because it wasn't my position to say anything. I was there as a direct contractor for the client. The
Yeah.
company that hired me, I wasn't even under their command. Usually I'm under one of their supervisors, but I was working direct for the client. So it was just one on one. The same with the night shifter, it was just one on one.
Mm.
However, the company that I worked for is the one that obviously hired this truck to do for the contract. So obviously, I did say something to management about it, and they said, "Oh yeah, we're fully aware. He can't see out of windows. He's blind as a bat." But I'm sitting there thinking, how is this guy still fucking working on a site? You can't see out of windows, like, and
Yeah.
he's damaged the truck. Like, he's done thousands of dollars worth of fucking damage in dust that the company's going to
Mm.
have to pay for a full detailed clean. Because funny
If
now,
they
the reason
do.
I say that,
If they do.
that truck also broke down. The brake booster stuffed up on it, so it got tagged out. They fixed it, and then it got tagged out for the same reason again, so it got
Mm.
sent off
Mm.
site. And I would say there was a good $1,000 bill that went along with that, a cleaning bill, because of how bad it was. So,
Jeez, you're kidding. Like, what
and
is with these?
I take care of my machines. I sit there and I clean them inside and out. And luckily, I didn't have to do it with this new one, but the eight wheeler I did, and I
Mm.
got every bit of rock that was built up under the guards out. Spent a good hour actually cleaning. Used my lunch break to clean the
Yeah.
truck. And then one night he just comes and destroys it. So at that point, I just lost all faith in my night shifter. Um, it actually got to a point where I was using another water cart that wasn't even doing the job that it's meant to, which is to spray water. You turn the sprays on, and you may as well have just gone outside and turned your hose tap on, because that's as much as what I was getting out at the back end of that truck. As you know, and apparently, I just had to deal with what I had in terms of tools. And you know how you take pride in your work,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you get to a point where you're banging your head against a brick wall with management saying the tools you have given me are not adequate to do the job that you're asking me to do, and it just makes me look like an idiot, and it makes you look
Yeah.
like an
Yeah.
idiot, because when you have it in first gear on a water cart and you've got it on high rev, that back end should be pissing water out with your center spray on. And it
Yeah.
may as well have been a garden hose. And obviously, I'd reported this, and they're like, no, no, it's fine, it's fine. Well, it turns out a couple of days after I left site, that machine also broke down. So my point wasn't invalid, but it got to a point where I told the boss, I'm just not going to put my name to this job anymore. I said, I've gone through now 3 machines. The only one that worked was the eight wheeler,
Mm.
until obviously it didn't work. Um, but it was at a point where I take too much pride in the quality that I deliver. Um, where I had actually just told the boss, look, if you can't get me a machine that's going to do the job that you're asking me to do that's going to be quality and not make us look like idiots and make me look like an idiot, um, then put me on the next plane home. And that's
Well,
that's
because
exactly what he did. Um, you
he'd
know,
rather he'd rather get rid of the problem that is
then to
Swagman
fix the problem.
complaining than fix the problem that
Yeah.
is,
And I've
you
worked
know.
with machines that are, subpar, but they do the job. You're like, look, it's not really suited for the job, but
Yeah,
it will
yeah.
do. So you go along with it, you use the tools that you've got, it's doing the job. But
Mm,
when the tools you're given are, subpar and then not delivering the quality as well, it just creates a bigger problem. You just end up going over the same area that you had just done because it's not getting enough water. It's not penetrating the ground
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
And it didn't matter how slow you went because the slower I went, the revs were also, for some reason, dropping out. And you couldn't adjust the revs to go higher in first gear. It's already revving out as high as you can go. And it was just as if, put the sprinkler on where it should be in your face spitting out. It was,
You'll be blasting out water.
yeah, it
I've
just
seen the way
wasn't penetrating at all. The dribble
I've
bar would
seen the
make it
way,
too wet. So then,
uh,
it would make the road worse than actually then do the job that needs to be done. So,
yeah,
yeah.
which is
And
mostly dust control, isn't it?
which is
When
dust control, which is what you're there to do. And in South Flank, you want to be able to get that dust down as much as possible because it's so bad. It's the most dustiest mine site that there is that I know
mm,
of.
mm.
But yeah, I just had a machine that one wasn't doing the job, and then uh, not only was it not doing the quality of the job, that machine ended up breaking anyway. I'm not sure what broke on it, but they ended up tagging that one out as well.
Again, it
So
makes you wonder, right, if this guy was that he must have been that dense that he did not realize that his actual job is fucking dust control. That's why he's there, because it is dusty. And
yeah, well, that's the thing
what's a
with
bad
management; they're
idea
not on
when you're
site.
driving through dust is putting the windows down.
Oh, there's that, and the worst thing is management's not even on site. You've got
Mm,
supervisors from
mm,
my company that were on site, and they're
yeah.
like, "Yeah, look, it's not the best, and you know, it's
Chin scratches.
it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
like
well, yeah,
it's not ideal is the word they used.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
ideal for the job that needs to be done, but it'll do the job." Now the problem is they weren't out there looking at the machine and using the machine that
mm, mm,
I was dealing with. Now, I'll deal with any water cut. I drive JCBs.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, unfortunately, this, for whatever reason, this just wasn't spitting out water, regardless how slow you went. It just wasn't penetrating the ground enough to wet it. So, yeah, in the end, it got tagged out anyway. But what do you do? Like when management doesn't listen to you, like where do you draw the line between your pride in the work that you're delivering and just ignoring
mm,
everything and just
yeah,
going fuck it, just take the money. Like would rather deliver quality and be, have self satisfaction that I've done a good day's work and have pride in the work that I'm doing than to
yeah,
have a machine that's not doing the job that's meant to supposedly deliver quality but it's not. Um, yeah, I would rather turn around and leave the job. And that's what I did. I told the client, walked in there and said, look, the machine's not doing what it's meant to be doing. It's delivering ideal work. It's not even delivering the quality work. And that's why it's so dusty.
yeah.
Uh, and it was a big client. We're talking one of the big three, so, um, you know, that was my direct supervisor. And I told him, I said, look, I've told my company, but they've told me to deal with it. And
Well,
in
look,
the end, I just
mm,
couldn't deal with it, and I just said to the boss, I was meant to be out there 2 weeks, I was out there 9 days. Um, I just I just said, "Look, if you can't give me a machine that's going to do the job that you're asking me to do, then put me on a plane, I would rather go home because I look like
my
an idiot, you look like an idiot."
my grandpa used to live by the credo: if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing right the first time.
That's it,
I mean, and you
100%.
do it right the first time, and you won't have to go back and do it again.
Well,
I
that's it.
mean, Sure, in your case, you're driving a water cut, you're gonna have to go back and do it again because there's gonna be dust. But
Mm.
the thing is, these people, they seem to have this, "Oh, good enough is good enough" attitude. We
Mm.
have a truck on site, and we're getting paid for it, and that's all we care about, kinda thing.
Pretty much, yeah. And that was kind of the attitude that it was. It was like, use the machine until it breaks. That's
Mm,
the
mm.
attitude that you get, and that's not just my side or the company that I use. It's every company out there. Just use it until it breaks, and that I'm talking mine site lingo here. And most people will agree. If you're on a mine site and you say, "Hey, this isn't working properly," they'll go, "Oh, has it got four wheels? Is the engine still running? As long as the air con's working, your comms are working, just keep using it till it breaks." But then the problem is when it breaks, it's something that big that it
Mm,
puts the
mm.
truck out of service for could be a week, could be a couple of days, which means you're not getting paid at all because sometimes there is no backup truck. So that person that you've employed to do the job
Yeah,
sometimes is
yeah.
sitting there for days on end doing nothing. Now, I was given another truck to use, but then that truck just wasn't doing the job twice. So what do you do when you get to a point? Where do you draw the line?
Well,
Like
we used to
before
have
you just
a
go, fuck it. This job
mm.
just it's too stressful because the machine and the tools you're given just keep breaking or they're not working. Like where do you draw the line?
You're supposed to draw the line at the very start and go, "Hey, this is
Yeah.
this is fucked. Okay, cool. We're gonna go pay money and fix it, get it fixed." Um, I used to have I used to work for a company that had I was on a big project down here in Sydney, and we had this pod truck. It was a C-class pod truck,
Yeah.
um, but it was still the clutch on it was fried. It was
Yeah.
fucked, right? So you'd struggle to get it into first.
Yeah.
Then you'd be limping it along in first. Then you'd have to really put some elbow grease in to get it into second.
So if that
All
was
right.
happening on the mine site, they'd tag it out and say it's not usable. But if you're in the main city, that's almost like the attitude of, just keep going.
It's this it's this well, it's good enough. I mean, it moves, doesn't it? That whole
Yeah.
attitude.
Yeah.
So we complained and we complained and we complained. Like it took us weeks of complaining to the boss before he finally sent someone out to fix it. Okay, guess who he sent out to fix it?
Oh, probably not even a serviceman. It was probably someone that might have a go-kart mechanical background.
Nope. He sent his mate out to fix it. This
Oh,
guy
come
this
on.
guy wasn't even
Trained?
he was
Did he know?
barely even a mechanic, let alone a transmission specialist or anything like that. So
That's
like normally with trucks, you
yeah,
wouldn't be sending a mechanic to fix a transmission
no.
problem.
Yeah.
You'd be
Heavy
sending a
diesel
transmission
mechanic
specialist.
or
Yeah.
a truck
Yeah.
specialist mechanic that understands trucks.
This
Um,
guy essentially came to site with the mechanical equivalent of a paperclip and a piece of cardboard to fix this thing.
yeah,
Okay.
no. See,
I
the
mean,
thing we got on our site was the guy on our site, he was brilliant. Now, he wasn't they sent him out as a serviceman, but
yeah,
his background was go-karts. However, he was mechanically minded.
yeah,
He was
yeah,
so good on the trucks that he understood how they worked, how every part worked. He
mm,
could diagnose the problem. He understood the issues. So you get people that enjoy their job enough to want to keep learning and not, you
yeah,
know, go, oh, I only know about go karts, so I just want to focus on that. This guy was actually so mechanically minded,
yeah, yeah,
and he didn't even have a qualification in mechanical. As I said, his background was working on go karts, and they sent him up as the service person to work on heavy diesel trucks, loaders, excavators to diagnose problems when they break down. Um, yeah, he was brilliant. Younger than me, he was like 1920s. So you do get good ones, but then you get people that just are not mechanically background minded and they go, oh, yeah, I can fix the problem. And they do more damage than actually fix the problem,
yeah, yeah.
which sounds like is what
Well,
happened with your situation.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of times, and I mean a couple of times because it was at least weekly this asshole was out fixing this thing now.
Yeah.
There are a couple of times when I would be walking past and see, they've got the cab over tilted forward, he's got the gearbox dropped down and everything like that, and I'd be like, "That clutch plate is ruined."
Yeah.
Okay, oh, hey, what the fuck do you know, bro? You're just a traffic controller. Yeah, I'm just a traffic controller who used to work for Toyota. I've seen plenty of this stuff. Just fuck off, all right? Get out of here. And it'd be the next week I'd walk past again and he's got the thing open again, and I'm like, that's the same clutch plate.
Yeah. It gets to a point where you just you don't care anymore. You've got to laugh, because if you don't laugh, you just cry and like
But the thing is,
but
I was driving this damn truck.
you're the operator. You know about this machine, and that's
Mhm.
the problem is when you complain about something to management or to the boss or to whoever that's in charge of that site, saying, "Hey, there's something wrong with this." You kind
Yep,
of almost
yep,
fobbed off, "Oh, just use it," type thing. You don't know what you're talking about. It's like, well, I do, because I'm the one that uses it every day. So I know every sound and every bit that was working in it when I
yeah.
first had it compared to what is happening now. Uh,
Yeah, that's right. And then you're like, well, how about I just use it today, and okay, get this, I'm going to take this thing down onto the M4, right, where
that's
everyone else is doing 110 k's an hour, and I can't get this cunt out of second gear. We're going to see how well that goes for everyone, okay?
yeah, yeah. And I can guarantee the tow truck will be bringing that thing home. You don't
I'll
know
be getting
anymore,
the
like.
I'll be getting the TMA to push me from
Well,
behind.
that's it. The companies are so worried about money and budget for certain contracts. They've only got so much that they can spend on that contract,
Mm, mm,
and there's a certain guideline that they've got to stay between. Otherwise, it's costing the company money, and you never want it to cost. You want to make
yeah.
money. Every business
Yeah.
wants to make money. So, in this sense of that, you don't want to stuff up by one, when you first get the contract, lowballing it to a point where you know you're not going to get new machines out there, or the machines you're sending ain't working properly. You want to make sure you've got enough money in that contract and that
Mm,
budget
mm,
line for that job, that if something does go wrong, or if you can buy a new machine, that it can be fixed or replaced, or hey, we can get a brand new water cart, or we can get a brand new pod truck for this contract because we've got the money in the budget for
yeah, yeah.
it. So there's sometimes people, when they get these contracts, they don't think of that. They go, "Oh yeah, well, no, we've got the machines for that," but they may end up spending more money on the repairs than what they would have if they had just hired a brand new truck, or they had bought their own for that contract. So sometimes you give them the warning. You tell them, "Hey, we're going to need this, or this is happening," and then you just watch them suffer in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you've told them about what's gonna happen, but they don't listen. So when it comes back and they try to blame you, go, "Well, I warned you about this earlier, so not my problem now."
Give me a sec, I'll be back, I'll be back.
No worries. Time for a top up with the drinks, I think.
It is, it is.
Give us a sec, guys. Let's have a look here. So, if you guys have any stories as well, feel free to send them in on our Facebook page, or send us an email. All our details are on the Shonky Traffic Controllers Facebook page. You can also obviously join our live chat area and type any questions you have, or put your story in there. And we'll bring you guys on board as well. Like if you want to tell your story that you've had, um, yeah, we'll bring you guys on as well. Let's have a look here. I've just shot across to our Shonky traffic controllers. It looks like we got a new participant, but they haven't added the response.
Ah,
So you don't
again
know
with
on
that.
Leah Reed, do you?
I don't know, Leah Reid, but how many times do we have to say it? Swag man, answer all the damn questions,
Yeah.
otherwise you're not getting accepted.
I think people just go, "Oh yeah, let's see if we can ignore it," and thinking that it'll just get through. But the thing is, I actually do look at them. I'm going
So
to.
do I. There are two of us looking at it. Look, the thing is, I think I know what a lot of people are doing. Like, our posts are getting popular enough now that they are
We're
popping up on
3.9
people's.
thousand members in.
Yeah, yeah. We're popping up on people's news feeds,
Mm,
right? So they're trying to comment, but you can't comment on our stuff unless you're a member. So what these people are doing is they'll post a comment, right, and then just hit back a bunch of times.
yeah,
And in doing that, they are not realizing that the questionnaire for joining the page has popped up. So they're smashing the back button and they get rid of that.
yeah.
And
And
it still comes through.
the reason why we put that there as well is because we don't want trolls on the page. So if you
Yeah,
can't even
yeah.
take the time to answer 3 or 4 questions, then we don't even want you on the page anyway, because you're either gonna troll or you're just gonna you're an AI bot or a scammer. So we're not gonna even bother entertaining anyone that can't even answer 3 questions. They're not hard questions, yes or no questions. Uh,
It also
that's it,
allows us to root out whether a person is worth
being on that page.
worth being on the page,
Genuine.
right? Because I've noticed that a few of the quote unquote people that request um membership have been traffic control companies themselves. Like they'll join from the company page,
Yeah,
or they'll be higher ups from traffic control
from
companies, and
traffic
you'll be like,
control.
hmm, I
No,
see you're the CEO at fucking Ryan's Traffic Control. Go
not
away.
going. Yeah, go away. You're not coming up. Look, we don't want to deny people, but if you're just coming on the page because you're worried if your company's been put on the page or your employees are saying something about the company and whatnot, then fix your own management within in-house. If you have to
I
come to
was
social
gonna say that.
media
Yep, yep. If
to
that's
spy on your employees or see if your company's being posted for doing shonky shit, then if you're already on that wavelength, then you should be fixing in-house, not being on
yeah,
social media going, "Oh, who's done this?" Because complaining about it and then sacking the person that's complaining is one, it's not going to remove the post, but two, it's not going to remove the problem because then the next person you hire is going to notice the same thing and probably post the same thing, and the next
yeah,
person, and the
yeah,
next
exactly.
person, and it's just going to be an ongoing effect. So fix your shit in house before you come to social media to have a whinge that people are complaining about your company online. Because, yeah, at the end of the day, we're not going to
I mean,
remove a
that
post if
is
it's been posted legitimately.
this is what our page exists for.
That's the whole point.
Like you said,
Shonky
yeah.
Builders has been designed for Shonky builders, and everyone uses it. Now, if you go build a house, how many of those builders turn around and go, "Oh, no, don't believe everything you see on Shonky Builders. That's full of shit page." You know why they say that? Because they know damn well that there's
Yeah,
so
those
many complaints about their company on there that they're trying to degrade it and say, "Oh, no, they're just unhappy clients." Well, one unhappy client, sure. But when you've got multiple complaints from multiple people. That's a lot of unhappy clients.
unhappy clients, plural,
Yeah.
okay, then you
So
got a
it's
problem.
not so shonky shit when there's multiple people saying the same thing about the building industry. And that's why Ryan finally pushed me enough to do this Shonky Traffic Controllers Facebook page. And I thought, you know what? There is a Shonky Builders. Why not make one for traffic control? There's not really one out there. There used to be have a whinge page, but then that got a bit out of hand. So yeah, this is more specific for traffic control, but sometimes we do use it to advertise sponsors and all that that helped us through the shows.
I mean,
Um,
ours isn't really for pointing fingers. It's more of a learning thing,
it's
I
a
think.
learning thing and
Like,
to help people understand how to do better
uh,
as well, not just oh look at this shonky shit. Because when a company does see it, they're more inclined to want to improve than complain.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
yeah,
I've driven through a few job sites now where I have actually pulled over and taken a photo, right? And one of the TCs or somebody has noticed me doing this, and they'll come up to me, or they'll start like looking like they want to talk to me. So I'll go over to them,
yeah.
and they'll be like, "Why are you taking photos on my site, bro?" And I'm like, "Well, because this right here could have been done better."
Yeah.
Okay, your tape. Look at your taper. Your taper's fucked up. You need to lengthen the taper a bit because it's, I can see
There's
you've got the
some
cones
sites
on the
I've
back of
seen
the
like
tractor.
you're
Yeah,
describing now, and you just sit there and go, dude, if there was a drunk driver or anything, you're all fucked because of the way you've set up the site.
yeah. Well, there was one that somebody posted today, right? Which was I don't know if it was meant to be a
Well,
road closure or something like that, but this guy, there was just the photo was two traffic cones and then one chevron,
yeah. So
one chevron in the
the
middle of it.
new legislation that's come through in terms of that now, and it's a compliance thing now as well. That the before this job even gets allocated, so you've got planners that would you know go out to site and actually see the site and then
Mm,
plan it.
mm,
But we all know they've been using Google to do that. So then obviously you get to site and you're like, what the fuck? It doesn't match the plan to what I'm looking at. Like they have not been out here. The new legislation that's just passed and the compliance laws that have just passed is they now need to go out to site. They need to
mm.
provide
Yeah, yeah,
video evidence that they were on site on the date that they've done the mapping for that for your contract and for your job. So they need to be able to have video evidence, photos to back it up. And it needs to clearly show date and time on those photos. Now, if you don't have that and you get called out by WorkSafe or
yeah,
even in
yeah,
other states, this whole thing is statewide because now all the legislation has come under the same banner. So this is regardless whether you're in Sydney or Perth.
yeah,
Um, if you don't have this and WorkSafe comes into your workplace and says, "Show me the records that you've done this," and you can't produce it, or you say, "Well, here's some of it, but not the other half of it," you are going to get fined and you're going to
yeah.
get work orders, and potentially
Mm.
your doors can be shut because they've seen it as a safety risk now. There's been enough complaints about it that they've had to implement to make planners go to site to make sure that they're actually visualizing what they're actually sending their employees out to do. Because, as we both know, Google has been the use of what they've been doing in Google Earth.
Yeah,
Um,
and like a lot of them will tell you to put signs in places that it's just impossible because there's a tree
or
there or something like
or
that. Or
now it's a residential housing house and it's not actually a
yeah,
vacant street anymore because the maps are outdated.
I
So,
was going to show you the post I was talking about before. I'll hold it up, and hopefully this clip makes it onto TikTok. You see that?
oh,
This
that's
is
the
what
one
I was
I'm
talking
actually
about.
looking at.
That's a what a cracker of a photo that is. That is exactly what our page exists for. It's not even a taper. It's just one cone and then an arrow and then another cone holding the arrow
I
sign up.
I would like to see if there was any more signs or if that was just, "We're out of signs, so we've done this." So
I
if
like
WorkSafe
the
was to drive past that and see that, well, number
even
1,
if
that
there were approach signs, there's no way that is
there's
acceptable for a
no,
road closure. You just
that
can't.
site would probably get shut down, I would say, depending on how bad the rest of it was, because there's no way that that's,
I mean,
it can't be
as a crew
compliant.
leader myself, I'll look at a plan for the day after, look at it the night before, and go, rightio, okay, so I don't have that sign and this one. I need to go to the yard early in the morning
To make
and pick
sure.
those signs up. Now, the problem with that is that a lot of TC companies don't pay you from the yard; they pay you
No.
from,
And a
excuse
lot
me,
of them
whatever.
don't have enough signs for the job as well, which is disturbing that they don't have enough signs for that one job. That tells me you're taking too many jobs on to
Yeah,
be able to have enough signs to fulfill a contract that can make your site safe. Because companies nowadays, they would rather run the risk of an employee getting hurt than to provide the minimum standard of safety, which I have noticed. And when people
yeah,
complain about the safety issues or complain that there's not enough signage or whatever it is, that they either get the sack
mm,
or they get
mm.
told to shut up and just deal with it. But then when something goes wrong, you get thrown under the bus. So what I
But
always
again,
tell
right?
people, I just say,
Yeah,
cover your own ass, make a note of it, send an email to that said person and say, we
mm,
had this conversation about X, Y, Z on this date and blah blah blah. and that covers your ass if anything was to happen after that. So
Yeah,
then you go
yeah.
do the job. And if something goes wrong, you're not at fault because you've already voiced concerns at the start. And WorkSafe's not going to come up to you and say, you caused this, you're the problem.
And do not be afraid to get WorkSafe involved.
Oh,
If
hell no.
your company wants to tell you, right, if they want to tell you, well, you're only paid from 7 o'clock or something like that. They use that to discourage people from going to the yard to actually pick up extra signs or what have you. And they're like, no, that's the crew leader's problem. It's not the crew leader's problem. It is the company's problem. They have to supply the correct signage, right? And then they will tell you, oh no, well, you're only rusted on to start at 7 o'clock. Well, technically, you should be rusted on to start at whatever time you leave the yard. So if you go to the yard in the morning, right, to pick up signs, you're getting paid from, say, 5 a.m. Say your job starts at 7. If you're here in Sydney, it'll probably take you some time to get to the job site. You can get to the yard at 5, pick up a couple of extra signs, and then just put it on your timesheet. And then if they want to bring it up and say, listen, you're not paid from 5 o'clock. Well, rightfully, you should be. That is your right as a worker. You should be getting paid for the hours that you work.
See, my argument would I would turn around and say, so would you like me to go to the client and say we don't have enough signs for this job because I wasn't going to get paid
Uh-huh.
early to come to the yard to pick up the signs that I needed for the job.
Yep.
So who's going to tell the client that? Should I tell the client that, or are you going to tell the client that? Because I'm not going to come to the yard early if I'm rostered on for 7 o'clock, and yet you're telling me make sure I've got everything that I need to go direct to site, but you're not going to pay me for it. At that point,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
turn around and say, if you're not paying for it, then I'm not doing it. And I'm going to turn up at
Mhm.
7 o'clock. I'm going to come to the yard, be at the yard by 7 o'clock, pick up my
Yeah.
signs at 7 o'clock. And
Yep.
then I'm going to go to site. And when the client says, hey, you were meant to be here an hour ago. So sorry, mate, I don't start till 7. So it's going to take me a couple of hours to set up your site because the boss didn't want to pay me the extra to be here early
Hmm.
to make sure you guys could start on time. You're due to start at 7, then start at 7. Be at the yard at 7. Make sure your ute is getting loaded up for seven
Yep.
o'clock.
Yep.
Usually there should be a yard person there. That a good yard person will they start a bit earlier. Will have your ute ready, but sometimes TC's crew leaders take their utes home and they have to go to the yard to pick up signs. Now,
Yeah.
if
Well,
they're
that's
saying be on site at
like me in
6,
my case. Yeah.
but you're not getting paid till 7, then I'm going straight to the yard. I'm picking up those signs and I'm leaving the yard at 7 and then going to site.
I will say this much though: the company that I work for at the moment is really good with that kind of thing,
Hey, there is
because
good ones.
yeah, there are good ones, right? Because it's mainly a civil company, but they'll send me the TGS and they'll send me the scope of works the day before. So most of the time I'll still be on site. Okay. And I'll have a look at the TGS for the next day and I'll be like, right, I need XYZ signs. Okay, I will amend my trip home and head up to the yard. And
Mm.
then they allow you to clock out after you leave the yard because it's all company time according to them. But most traffic control companies don't think like that.
Mm.
They
That's it.
think that you clock off when your job ends.
And that's also a problem. Like making sure you're getting paid for the hours you're doing now on site when you're doing the
Mm,
mine site,
mm,
they say, "Oh, you can only do 12 hours," and it's so heavily regulated. However, they're
yeah,
not some companies are better at this than others. Now, luckily for the job that I was just on, it was pretty good. We'd literally be to the 12 hours, and that's it. So
yeah,
if I started at 4:45, I was to
yeah,
finish at 4:30, get my paperwork in, obviously let the truck do its countdown to be able to uh, get all the because we got AdBlue in our trucks, so we've got to give it
yeah, yeah,
time
yeah.
to isolate and all that before we can switch it off. Um, So, I'll stop 10, 15 minutes early and I'll finish at 5 o'clock because that's when the other crew finish. So I'll get there 4:30, 4:45, let the truck
Mm,
idle
mm.
down, isolate it, go in, have my meeting with the supervisors, all that sort of thing. And that would be my clock off. But then I'd have to wait an hour for the bus to get in to be able to go home.
Wow,
So
bless you, by the way.
thank you. um, so I would get my 12 hours directly, but I'd still be up at 3:30 in the morning
Yeah,
to go
yeah.
into crib at 4 o'clock, and I'm not getting paid for this, by the way.
Mm,
For that period of time, you're not getting paid for.
I
Um,
know it, I know it.
and and that's where it gets tricky because it's different to FIFO life and local. Local work, you can say, "Hey, if I'm not getting paid for it, then I'm not
Mm,
doing it." But when you're out there, you're already out there, and it's kind of known that you're going to have to be up early. You want to eat? Well, this is the time you've got to be up if you want to eat, because you've got to be on the bus by a certain time. But ours was door to door, 12 hours.
yeah.
If you were an hour past that, you would be getting a phone call from security saying, "Hey, why have you gone over your 12 hours? What's going on? Hey, you've got 5 minutes to get through the gate and tag off, otherwise, you're going to breach." And when you breach, you've got to go into the superintendent's office and explain to them why you've breached. And there's a big form that you've got to fill out, and then they've got to
Mm,
sign off on
yeah.
it. And then they're going to start questioning what was the reasoning. So there is other companies that don't give a shit about the 12 hours door to door. Those are the companies that I avoid because you
And
don't want to be
everyone
working
should avoid.
14, 15-hour shifts and making it a 14-hour door to door. Those are companies that that you're just a number. So, and then
Yeah,
also you weigh up your options. Is it worth the mental stress of working the extra hours unpaid and going through all that
never.
drama? I don't think it is. Um, some people are on a good wicket and they're like, yeah, I'll work
Mm,
14 hours because I'm on, 90 plus dollars an hour or I'm on 80 plus dollars an hour.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you can't put a price on mental health. Now, if you're working locally and you're still doing 14, 15 hours, but you're only getting paid for, say, 10 or 12 hours, then I would not be working the 14, 15 hours for the sake of that job because that tells me two things. One, your manager doesn't give a shit about you. And two, the company certainly sees you as a number. So
Yep, yep.
it is one of those decisions that you've got to make. Yes, I need the money, but I'm sick of doing 14, 15-hour shifts. So why put yourself through that and your family through that?
Mm,
There's plenty of jobs out there. And if you know that you've got the skills and that you've got you can prove that you can do the job with another company better, then I would be leaving that said company and saying, "Hey, VOC me on that machine or VOC me and I'll show you that that I can do the job," and work for another company that actually values your time and values your mental health to want to work for that company instead of the one you're already working with.
yeah, no, exactly.
So
And,
I can't
mm,
I can't go through working with a company that treats their employees like crap because when you're at work, you're working with these guys and girls for what sometimes 8 to 10 hours a day. They're essentially become your family. Uh,
yeah, it's the
and
people and the
if
machines you gotta spend your whole day with.
and that's it. So a good company will abide by that, and say, hey, look, we can see that you guys are not, working a small amount of hours, but we're going to pay you for it. And if they identify that, that's great. But if they don't, then don't do
Mm,
past what your job title is. If it says that you are 8 to 8 or 9 to 9 or you're
yeah,
six
yeah.
to six, then do that. And then if the company says, but what about overtime? Why are you not doing the extra 4 or 5 hours? You get paid overtime just because I'm past the 12 hours. I'm
And you
not
don't
going to
always
work.
want overtime, do you?
Yeah, I don't want to work overtime. I still got an hour travel or a 45-minute travel home or a
Yeah,
2 hour
yeah.
travel home. So it's a fatigue problem for me. So I'm not going to work past 10 hours because I've still got to
Mm.
calculate my travel home. So,
Well, in your case, you've also gotta cop it from the mine site after you've
well,
gone over
that's
those
it.
12
And
hours.
when you're on a mine site, you've got to cop
It's,
it from them as well because
it's
you've got to
it's
explain
really
to them
not
why
worth
you've
the
done it.
bullshit.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
but there is companies that will try and get around it.
Mm,
They are out there. It's the same thing in the safety field. There's companies out there that'll preach safety and they say
mm,
speak
mm.
up about safety, but then when you do, you just end up either sacked or you never see Billy again because Billy's now being sacked from that job because he spoke up about a safety concern. So traffic industry is getting better. Traffic control industry is slowly picking up its standards, but there's still a few companies out there
There
that
are
are,
a
lacking.
lot of corners of our industry that are not getting better by the sounds of it.
Yeah, 100%.
And one
100%.
of the back to taking care of the machine, really. Um, I get asked quite often why I spend so much time cleaning my ute, right? Because I'm, as I mentioned before, I'm a crew leader, right? I make sure any ute or truck that I'm in, I make it clean. I make everything organized. Like the signs are all in order. I like to tie them all back too. I've got little tie down things that I use so that every time if I'm out driving, right, the signs don't bang around on the back. I cannot
Mm,
fucking stand the sound of
banging it
um
against the
of the
metal.
signs bashing around against the cage. So I have
Yeah,
these little straps that I buy from Bunnings for like $2 each.
taking care of your actual, ute that you're using,
Yeah, and it's
and the
not just
equipment.
that. It's my neighbors as well. I mean, I'm in the ute at 4 in the morning. The neighbors don't need to hear all that shit crashing around on the back of the ute.
No,
So, I get asked often why I do that kind of thing. And it's like, well, unfortunately, this is my daily driver. This is this is my car. The one that actually belongs to me that stays in the carport, that's not my car. That's
you never get to
that's the
drive that car.
that's the family's car.
Yeah,
Okay? The one that I'm the one that belongs to the company that I'm driving every day for upwards of 5 or 6 hours, that's my car. That's what I have
yeah.
to spend the entire fucking day sitting in. Okay, so I want it to be clean and I want all the signs to be in order and everything to be in order.
Know where your shit is then, like,
Yeah,
you just wanna know.
and it goes back to the question of signage as well, right? I can look at a TGS and I know exactly what signs I have on the back of that ute because I spend all day making sure that they're in order and counting them.
Yeah,
Right?
and then
I
you
know
know whether
what's
you have to go to the yard or not.
yeah,
Exactly.
I know what's there. And like for some reason it just blows so many people's minds. Like the last bloke who drove my ute didn't give a flying fuck about it. It was dirty when I got it,
Yeah.
right? I got in there immediately, I cleaned it all out and everything. And previously, before he got fired, he was like, "Oh, I don't understand why you're so pedantic about the ute being clean. It's not your car." And again, I explained it to him. I was like, "Yeah, it is.
It's
I am
you
the
use
one that
it.
I
Yes.
have to spend half a day sitting in this goddamn machine, right? It may as well be comfortable for me."
Yeah, you don't wanna be sitting in a dirty ute because imagine if you just left your rubbish in there and you just let it build up and build up and build up, like,
It,
how comfortable is it
it's
gonna get? At what point do you get to, do you go, "Oh, I should probably clean it."
yeah,
Why not
and
just clean it every day and you never have to do it?
it's not the company's problem. The company's never gonna clean it.
No. They're gonna say,
That's
"You're the
my
operator,
yeah,
you're the crew leader. We've given you this ute to take home. Take care of it as if it was your own car."
that's it.
Uh, it's common sense. But yeah,
Mhm.
guys, if you guys have got any stories of similar situations where yous have banged your heads against the brick wall, send them in to us, reach out, and we can bring you on the show. We've had a few people on the show
And,
tell us their experiences.
if
So
you've
yeah.
if you've worked in traffic control or at least as a FIFO, there have been plenty of instances where you've banged your head against a brick wall.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
And go and pay Aussie Pal a visit. They're on Facebook. They've probably got their own website as well. But those jugs look really cool. I'd love to buy one.
Aussie
In
Power
fact,
definitely has a website. Just
mm,
jump on aussiepower.com.au and you will be able to find a different range of jugs from 2 litres, 4 litres, 6 litres. Um, they're really good. As I said, I've got one. We've
mhm.
just given one away. But yeah, the aussiepower.com.au. Jump on there and grab
Mm.
yourself a new water jug. Keeps cold for, I believe it was 48 hours, it says on the jug.
I
Mine is in
understand
my room.
Swagman has taken one out into the middle of the outback
I
and
have
still had it ice cold the next day.
100%, and it was 100% ice cold. I followed the instructions, half ice, half water, and it was
Mhm.
still icy cold the following day. So
Have you
top it up with
seen that?
ice and then go again.
Have you seen their adverts on Facebook?
Yeah,
You know the
because
those
I'm follow them, it's
mm,
constant.
yeah, it is. But you know those silicon like donut shaped ice cube makers that they have. Do you
Mm.
have them?
No, I don't. So on site, obviously, we had an ice machine.
Mm.
But if you're working locally, I highly suggest getting one of those because that would be
Yeah.
perfect. And you just put two of those in your bottle and bang, the rest in water, and that'll stay cold for 48 hours. So
So on the adverts, they have these really cool donut-shaped silicon molds that you can make ice in, and they're how what would the radius be? I think the radius of them would be about 3 or 4 inches. They're
yeah,
quite big. Yeah,
yeah, quite big.
and you'd freeze up
36
three
hours.
or
Sorry,
four
I
of them.
lied. 36 hours. 36 hours
36
power.
hours. I mean, that's an estimate, and I'm pretty sure if you are economic with it, you could make it last longer than
Oh,
that.
100%. It's how
Yeah.
smart are you with it, more or less. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna love you and leave you. I need to go check on the wife. So yes, we are having a newborn baby soon.
She did sneeze before, so there
She
could be
did
some
sneeze,
trouble
so
going on.
could be some trouble going on. She's just failing to yell at me. So I
She
will leave you with that, guys.
she might be quietly dealing with it back there until you finish there, Swagman, so you better
Pretty
go.
much. I'm gonna shoot off, guys. You're gonna hear a little thing from our sponsors at the end of this, so stick around, have a listen to that, guys,
That's
and
it.
we will see you guys next week.
See you next week. Bye. Let's be real. Traffic control means long hours, unpredictable shifts, and eating, well, whatever you can grab between stop slow cycles. If your quote unquote meal plan is whatever's left in the servo pie warmer, it's time for an upgrade. On Track Meals has your back with proper, tasty, ready to eat meals made for busy people just like us. No more mystery meat, no more regret. Plus, because you're smart enough to listen to this podcast, you get 10% off. Just use the code, all capitals, in the zone 10 at checkout. Head to ontrackmeals.com.au. Your stomach will thank you. Now, back to the good stuff.